Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Ling Chen. I'm currently a second year MBA student studying at Cornell University. So with the MBA application season for the intake of 2022 approaching, today I'm going to share with you guys 3 mistakes that you will likely want to avoid if you are thinking of applying to an MBA program, especially in the United States. So before I share what these 3 mistakes are, I will give you a brief overview of how the MBA application season looked like. So for most US business schools, their MBA program start date is basically the same as other university programs, which the program start in August. So for a prospective student who is planning to apply for the next year's 2022 intake, his or her application deadline will look something like this. Typically, most US business schools have 3 rounds of application deadlines, with the first round deadline at around end September to early October, second round deadline at around early January, and third round at early April. Of course, every school may have its own variations, and some even have 4 rounds. But in general, the deadline for most US business schools will look something like this. So in order to apply to these business schools, what you typically need is a GMAT score and an individual application to each of the schools that you apply to, where within the application, you will contain your application essays and things like recommendation letters. Going into our main topic for the day, for the mistakes that I'm about to share, I will not touch on those obvious mistakes such as not taking your MBA application essay seriously, not putting in enough effort to revise for GMAT, because I believe those mistakes are the obvious ones that most serious MBA applicants already know. Instead, I'm going to share with you 3 mistakes that I personally encounter during my business school application journey and why you should be avoiding them. So the first mistake is cramping your GMAT revision together with your business school applications, or aka not getting your GMAT out of the way early. At least based on my experience, cramping your GMAT revision together with your business school application period is a really bad idea. And the reason I say so is because most of us MBA applicants are already leaders within our own workplace. So imagine having to work 50 to 60 hour work week every week, and only to get home at night or over the weekends to tackle both your GMAT revision as well as allocating time to do your business school research, research on different schools to apply to, preparing your essay, and networking and speaking with the alums within those schools. Unless you are a very, very efficient person, more often than not, for the majority of us, the quality of one of these 2 components will likely drop because you really don't have enough time and energy to tackle both at once. So this was exactly what happened to me because I started my GMAT revision slightly late. So towards the tail end of my GMAT revision, it kind of overlapped with the beginning phase of my business school application period. And it was a complete nightmare for me because I was exhausted every single weekend. I was sacrificing sleep. And in the end, my GMAT score really did not perform as well as I thought I would. So in the end, I actually applied to less schools than I intended to because I had insufficient time. Of course, I believe that there are the minority group of people who are extremely efficient and can tackle their own work commitments, GMAT revisions, and business school applications all at once. But this is something that I really do not advise because it will really drain you physically and mentally. So if you are watching this video and thinking of applying for the 2022 MBA intake, I would recommend you to start revising for your GMAT right now. Get it out of the way as early as possible. So by the time during the business school application season arrives, you can completely devote to this one single task and allocate all the time you have for this. So mistake number 2 is only applying during the final round of intake. So this is kind of a tricky situation because I understand that for some of the MBA applicants, applying to an MBA could be a last minute decision, or due to personal and work commitments, you only have time to apply during the April application deadline. So for those situations, it is totally understandable. But assuming you do have the flexibility of applying during any of the rounds, my recommendation is to start applying as early as possible. And here's why. First of all, many of the scholarship and grants are primarily given out in the early rounds. So the scholarship spots can be kind of more limited by the time you apply in April. So this will be a huge missed opportunity for many of the qualified candidates. The second reason that you want to apply early, which in my opinion is the more important reason, is that applying early allows you to take more risks. Assuming you are a candidate who is only applying during the April round, and you know that this is the last round to get into a business school, there's a less chance that you are willing to take risks to go for your dream school that could be out of your reach. So what many of the applicants during the April round do is to focus more energy to apply to schools, maybe 5 to 10 rankings lower, so-called the safety schools, so as to guarantee their spot in an MBA program. In my opinion, this is a huge missed opportunity because many of these MBA applicants are really qualified, and who knows, if they have devoted more time to their dream schools, they may have just gotten into these schools. So now imagine again if you are applying during the September round and you have 2 dream Ivy League schools that seems to be a little bit insurmountable and out of your reach. You have a higher tendency to take risks and really devote your time to apply to these 2 schools. Because you know that in the event that you do not get into any of these 2 schools, you always can apply to so-called safer schools during the subsequent rounds. So the final mistake that I would recommend to avoid kind of tie together with the second mistake. And the mistake is not aiming high enough. So not aiming high enough kind of have both a practical and psychological element to it. And I will explain why. It is actually not uncommon to see business school applicants underestimating their ability during their initial application period. So I kind of fell into this trap initially. So when I was first researching for my MBA and revising for my GMAT, Cornell was not really in my radar because I personally did not think that my profile was good enough to target a top 15 business school within US. I was actually mostly looking at business schools within the rank of top 20 to top 30. So such mentality not only affected my business school research, it also influenced the goal that I set myself for my GMAT. It also influenced how dedicated I was during my GMAT revision. I was clearly not striving for excellence at that point of time, and it was totally well reflected during my initial GMAT exam where I scored a really underwhelming score during my first try. So only after speaking with some of my friends and seniors, then I started to set my goal to Cornell. And with a clear and high enough goal in mind, it kind of like motivated me to really strive for excellence during my GMAT revision. And I was really dedicating a lot of effort every single weekend to prepare for my GMAT so that I can make sure I can maximize my ability and the score that I can score on my GMAT. So I strongly urge everyone who is thinking of applying to business schools to not underestimate yourself. If you are watching this video, there's a high chance that you are already a very strong and qualified candidate. So if you have a dream school that seems to be insurmountable, just go for it. You'll never know what will happen. And in the event that it did not work out for you, you can always target safer schools during the subsequent rounds. So this is all I have to share for today. As always, everything I share is based on my personal experience. So if you have a different approach in applying to business schools, feel free to leave a comment and share with everyone else. And if you enjoy my video, make sure you subscribe to my channel as I will be uploading similar content regularly. See you!